Let's talk about a high-stakes geopolitical trade war. But you can forget about steel tariffs or disputes over cars. The weapon in this fight? Well, it's literally a bag of garbage.
So, just think about this for a second. What happens when a simple garbage bag is suddenly treated like it's smuggled contraband? When that bag of trash becomes the center of an international incident, with huge fines and forensic-level scrutiny every time it crosses a border.
And that really gets to the heart of this whole thing. It's a story of mud versus math. You've got the messy, chaotic, real world of waste collection crashing head-on into the clean, unforgiving logic of digital compliance. It's a battle between the stuff you can touch and the data that's supposed to represent it. Now, this collision between mud and math, it created a complete existential crisis. It forced one Canadian logistics company, 905 Wood, to totally reinvent itself. They didn't just buy a better truck. They had to build what they call a digital refinery, a system designed for one thing and one thing only: pure economic survival.
So how in the world did we get here? To really get what 905 Wood built, you first have to understand the geopolitical fire they were forced to walk through.
Okay, so it all kicks off in early 2025. The U.S. government, citing emergency powers, suddenly reclassifies municipal waste and slaps a 25% tariff on it. Ouch. By August, it gets even worse. That tariff jumps to a crazy 35%. That put enormous pressure on Canadian haulers. But the real kill shot wasn't the tariff itself, it was how U.S. customs agents started weaponizing a tiny loophole later that year. And this move was terrifyingly brilliant. They called it the transshipment trap. See, Canadian haulers figured they were protected by the USMCA trade deal, which says trash from Canada is, wholly obtained in Canada. But U.S. Customs had other ideas. They argued that a garbage bag isn't really 100% Canadian. It's got a broken toaster from China in it, maybe a plastic toy made in Vietnam. And because of that little bit of foreign-made debris, the whole load technically violated the rules. And the penalty for getting caught in this trap? A crippling 40% fraud penalty. And that wasn't on the value of the toaster. It was on the entire value of the truck. This wasn't a tax anymore. This was a financial weapon designed to completely paralyze the industry. And you know what? It worked.
So, basically facing extinction, 905 Wood knew they couldn't win an argument about a Chinese toaster. The only way out was to completely change the game. So they pivoted. They stopped being just another hauling company and became what they call a digital refinery.
And this chart right here shows you just how big of a shift that was. A traditional hauler, they move a physical liability, trash, using paper slips that get lost in the mud. 905 Wood, they turn that liability into a verifiable data asset. They stopped selling waste removal and started selling a digital product passport. Basically, a compliance and liability shield built to survive a trade war.
Now, to build that shield, they needed an incredible amount of accurate data from the field. And to get it, they built a user interface that breaks, like, every single rule of modern app design. They made it hard to use, on purpose.
I mean, that sounds totally backwards, right? We're all taught that apps should be frictionless, easy, one-tap simple. So why on earth would you deliberately make your app more difficult for your own employees to use?
The answer is simple: to force accuracy. Because in this world, speed is the enemy. On a chaotic construction site, the phrase garbage in, garbage out isn't a metaphor. If a driver uploads bad data, the company could get hit with that 40% fine. So 905 Wood uses what they call intelligent friction to force the user to actually stop, think, and verify exactly what they're doing. So here's how their main feature, Hold to Seal, actually works on the ground. First, the AI on the driver's Google Pixel phone scans the wood pile and gives it a quality score. Second, the app grabs and locks the GPS coordinates so there's an unchangeable record of where that wood came from. Third, it makes the driver answer really blunt questions like, "Are you sure this isn't from a deck demolition?" It forces them to engage. And finally, you can't just tap a button. The driver has to physically press and hold a button to seal the load, making it a deliberate, verifiable action. So, this hostile UI creates a perfect digital record. That's great, but at the end of the day, a real truck still has to move real wood. The software has to connect back to the physical world of logistics.
And their physical operation is just as precise as their digital one. Instead of having dozens of small trucks driving to the final destination, creating a huge traffic jam, they use a hub-and-spoke model. Small spoke bins go out and collect wood from job sites.
All that wood is then brought to a central hub where it's all consolidated and, critically, gets a chemical validation scan. Only after the material is verified as pure is it loaded onto a massive mothership trailer for the long haul.
And when they say mothership, they are not kidding. We're talking about massive, 144 cubic yard walking floor trailers. By consolidating all that clean, verified material, they make the long-haul trips incredibly efficient. No more wasteful parade of tiny trucks.
Okay, so you have the hostile app creating perfect data, and the hub-and-spoke system moving the physical wood efficiently. The final output of this entire complex process is a single document, the audit trail. This is the shield they use at the border.
But this document isn't designed to look pretty in a tech demo. It's not some flashy dashboard with colorful charts. No, they call it industrial legibility. It is designed to be perfectly, instantly clear to a tired border agent under the dim dome light of a truck cab at 5 in the morning, probably after it's been printed from a terrible office printer.
And it all comes down to a really simple, kind of shocking fact. They designed for reality, not for a fantasy. And the hard reality is that even today, critical infrastructure like border customs still runs on fax machines. So your beautiful, color-coded chart, it's worthless if it just turns into 2 identical shades of gray when it's faxed. 9.5 Wood's documents are high contrast, black and white, and built to survive the analog world.
But this entire brilliant system, the hostile UI, the hub-and-spoke model, the fax-ready paperwork, it all hinges on one critical assumption, that the data coming in at the very beginning is correct, and the system has a potentially dangerous blind spot. The whole digital refinery process starts with an AI looking at a pile of wood through a smartphone camera. It's trained to spot that greenish or brownish tint of pressure-treated wood, which can be full of toxic stuff like arsenic. But what happens when that treated wood has been sitting out in the sun for 10 years? It weathers to the exact same light gray color as clean, safe wood. A standard phone camera is basically blind to that invisible chemical threat. And that is the high-wire act that they perform every single day. They built this incredible digital engine to navigate a trade war. But everything, absolutely everything, hinges on this one final question. In that battle of mud versus math, when the stakes are this high, can a smartphone camera truly be trusted to see arsenic?